Hello YouTubers and welcome back to my channel. This is my FTX Outback 3 and in my last video I showed you my methods of changing the ESC and the controller, and in that video I happened to mention that I had ordered a new steering servo for it and it was going to take a few days and up to a week for me to receive it through the post. Well, I actually received it earlier than I thought. And so this is the one I ordered. I'll just take it out of the bag. You do get all different horns for it. You do get a metal horn, which is the one I'll be fitting in this video. And this is the steering servo I'll be changing it to. There's a little code up there. As you've just seen, it's a 25 kilogram steering servo. And I bought this off eBay for about £15 UK money at the time of this recording. So it's quite cheap, and I've used these in my other crawlers, like my FTX Mauler and my High Rock. So I know that this is quite a good one for crawlers, hence why I chose this one again for this Outback 3. So I'm going to show you my methods to change it, and it should be a nice simple job. So let's get started. I've already taken the body clips from the front of it and just lift up. Now the steering servo, before I carry on, it's just sitting on the axle just up here, and it's held on by 4 screws to this side. I don't know how much you can see. You can see 2 screws just here, and there's 2 more this side. And then you got to disconnect the horn from the actual steering link, and then once you've done that, you got to just unplug it from the receiver. So let's get started. I will be unplugging all the lights just so I can move the body shell a bit more back and give me more room to work on. Now, if your wire is cable tied to the chassis, you don't forget you need to cut those cable ties off to remove it. So I'm going to stick on pause because I forgot my cutters. Right, I use my cutters just to cut the one cable tie that I used just to tighten up all the wiring. So when I used it, I didn't get it caught in the drive shaft. So the wire is now disconnected from the actual chassis, and I'm going to disconnect it from the receiver, which is just sitting here, which should be from this channel 1. All you have to do is just pull it and it just pops out of the receiver. So the next job is undoing these 4 screws that I pointed out. That's 2 on each side, and the size Allen wrench I'm using is a 2mm, just there, 2mm Allen wrench is for the screws. And the screws themselves are not very long, as you can see. Right, so that's 2. I've got to put it on pause while I do the other side because it's just unscrewing the screws. And I'll also be disconnecting the steering horn from the, I can't think of it there, from the servo. I lost my words just then, sorry. So yes, I've got to put it on pause while I do the other 2 screws and disconnect the steering horn from the actual steering servo. So bear with me. I have now unscrewed the other side, and I've unscrewed the steering horn from the actual servo. The actual screw that screws into the servo to connect this is a small crosshead screwdriver, and I'll just use a tiny crosshead screwdriver just to undo it. So that is now removed along with the small screw. I also disconnected the arm from the horn, simply because I'll be replacing it with this metal one. And that is just a slight bit longer. Again, this is the 2mm Allen wrench I used. And now this should just slide out. Now it's saying easy. One of the reasons why I'm changing, well, a couple of reasons why I'm changing this is because 1, This is only about 6 or 9 kilogram steering servo, and I wanted something a bit more stronger, hence why I chose the 25 kilogram. And I took it out briefly just to test the ESC and the controller, and I found that this was a bit notchy, like there's a couple of little teeth broken inside it, and it was juddering as it was turning. And so I think this was slightly out the window. So that is the two reasons why I've decided to replace it. And plus this is just a really good, nice cheap upgrade from the standard one. So what I'm going to do now is just put it back in the same way. And then it's just a reverse order of taking it out. It's the only bit, the only thing I found a bit difficult is just threading the wire through nice and neatly to the receiver so it doesn't get caught on any of the drive shaft or the motor or anything like that. So I've got to do that. I've got to put it on pause, as it's literally just the reverse of removing it. So bear with me. But I've now done up the 4 screws to hold the steering servo into it. It's just literally 2 screws on each side. Then I've threaded the wire through to the receiver and to cable tied it so it doesn't get caught on the drive shafts like I mentioned before. I've now plugged it all in to centralise the steering servo through my controller. And on this one, I'll just put it back to 0, which is this one just here. So I know that is set as centre, so it will drive straight. So when I come to fit the new steering horn, at least I know that the steering servo is now set to go straight forward. And whilst I'm on it, like I mentioned, I am going to use this metal one. But when I tested it to the servo, I found that it was a bit too long. So what I've done is just cut it, the extra hole on top, because you did have 2 options of 2 different holes. But I only needed 1, so I'll cut that little hole off just to shorten it, and now it should clear. The other thing is that you do have 2 little screws on each side, and that just clamps it better onto the steering hole on here, onto the servo. And unfortunately, the little screw that I took off the old servo does not fit no more, because this one, the hole for it on here, is now bigger than the standard one. But lucky enough that with this little servo, they do supply one with a new screw that does fit. So that's another thing I like about it. They supply all the screws needed, plus plastic holes, as you can see here, and all the little screws that is needed to make it fit. But yes, as I mentioned, I'm going to use this mesh one, and I'm going to centralise it as much as I can onto the actual servo. And then that way it's as central as I possibly can get it. Not that it's going on. It should do. What I might have to do is that this little gap you can see here, I might have to prise it open a little bit. Because when I've cut it, I did put this in a vise, and I might have squashed this little gap there a little bit. So I just get a flat screwdriver and just prise it open ever so slightly. Just like so, and hopefully that should go on now. Yes, it does. So now them 2 little screws I will now do up. There should be 1 on each side, and that just should now close that gap up that I just opened. That's 1, and the other side like so. Not that you can see much, but I'm just doing up them 2 little screws that you saw, and that should now clamp it, actual horn, better onto the servo, so there's no slippage or anything like that. Right, that's as tight as I'm going to put it. Now I'm going to actually put the steering arm on and try and put the wheels as straight as I can. So whilst I do that, I've got to put it on pause again whilst I do that, because all I'm doing is literally doing this one little screw up. Now it's nice and easy to put on, but as you can see, the wheels are not straight no more. So what I'm going to do is turn it on and then adjust it on my throttle. And as you can see, I've now slightly adjusted it on my controller, and that is now set straight to how I want it. So that is how you change that. There's one little screw I almost forgot, and that's the one in the centre what goes actually in the extra steering servo. Almost forgot that. But whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to turn everything off, like so. But whilst I do that, I will put you back on pause again, simply because I forgot to do it. Right, so I've now done out that screw out tight, and I tightened the two little screws that I pointed out earlier a bit more tighter. You can put a little bit of Loctite on there if you wanted to, but if you ever wanted to take it off for any maintenance work, it might be a little bit difficult. So for now, I haven't put any Loctite on it. The one thing I forgot to mention as well is that when I adjusted the steering, so you go straight forward, I adjusted the other setting. So that setting is just here on my controller, just that one, and that is just a throw of the actual steering. And because I use a standard servo, I set it to 100%. But when I changed it to this, it made the wheels hit the shock absorbers on both sides. So I just adjusted this setting, just there, that one, and I just turned it down, so now the wheels do not hit the shock absorbers no more. So I'm quite happy with that one. And the other thing, if you decide to have this ESC, there's a section on there, it's called a BEC, and that changes the voltage towards the steering servo from a 6.4 volts to 7.2, I think it was 7.2 or 7.4, I can't remember which one, and I adjusted it to the 7.2 or the 7.4 just to give the full potential to this steering servo. So that is done, and that is all the electrics I'm going to swap on this. I'm going to keep the standard motor in it because I was perfectly happy with the performance of that. It was just literally, I wanted to change the ESC, controller and the servo. And I've done all them, and I hope this has helped you to show you how to change your steering servo and adjust both the settings and how to adjust it properly. Well, to how I adjusted mine. So thank you very much for watching. I've got to take a couple of pictures of the new steering servo and go on my Instagram. So go check a couple of pictures out on there. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.